Hi, I'm Greg Knox. I'm the Executive Director of Skeena Wild Conservation Trust.
Yep, Michael Price, Director of Science with Skeena Wild.
And I'm Kate Yaley, a new fisheries biologist with Skeena Wild.
And we're here to provide an update on the salmon steelhead returns we're seeing into the Skeena and some of the environmental conditions. It's early August and wanting to keep everyone informed. So right now it's August 9th and we are seeing for the salmon species, we'll start with sockeye, where it's return of about 1.9 million this year, which is average return if we look long term in terms of Skeena sockeye. So decent return. We have been having a Chinook return similar to the last several years, so low, but not terrible. And for chum salmon, chum have been depressed for several decades in the Skeena, and we're kind of tracking that 10-year average, which is low. And then for pink salmon, we're seeing quite a strong return this season. Lots of pinks in the river. You probably see them behind us, popping up everywhere. For coho salmon, a good return of coho into the Skeena this year as well. And then for steelhead, it's been a really slow start to the return and some really concerning numbers. They've bumped up a bit in the past week or so, but still a low return into the system. So Kate's been looking into a lot of the environmental conditions this season, and she'll provide us an update now.
Yeah, so obviously we're standing here in the rain, which is lovely, and we've had a bit of rain in the past week and cooler temperatures, which has been great for the system, but it was a really warm and dry spring and early summer. And so we're seeing some historic lows of river levels in the region, and even other rivers that aren't below historic levels are well below average, as well as warmer river temperatures. We're still in a drought, even though it's raining, and the rain will help, but the levels are still below average, so and it'll probably get warm again into August, so it's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and for ocean conditions, it's been, we've had several years, about 2.5, 3 years of what's called La Nina, which is really cool ocean conditions in the North Pacific. Generally that's good for salmon, more food, and it's flipped in the last several months into a fairly strong El Nino event, which is really warm conditions, and that means, generally speaking, less food for salmon, the fish they eat. And so the returns we're seeing this year are coming off of more favorable ocean conditions, and so going into the future, we're just concerned about flipping back into this warm phase. So Mike, our Director of Science, has been out in the field a lot, and what have you been seeing this season so far?
Well, certainly that early summer. So working with the Wet'suwet'en up at Maurice Lake and following the juveniles leaving that lake for the ocean. So that beginning in April, it looked like juveniles were leaving about a week or two earlier than they had last year. And just those early summer conditions, everybody experienced them, but the snow coming off the mountain was very rapid. In the lake itself, you could see it rise rapidly. Lots of debris coming down. And then, yes, just for a while there, water levels dropped quickly. It seemed like sockeye coming back to the Wet'suwet'en, the Bulkley. The adults were early. It was 1 or 2 weeks early, it seemed. And, from my own perspective, just the garden, seeing how quickly everything dried up, whether it's the lawn or even trees that I planted last year, I think a lot of life has been struggling to thrive under these warm conditions.
And so, Skeena Wild, we've been working on a variety of initiatives. It's been challenging, of course, with salmon conservation work in recent years due to really, in a large part, climate change and the variability and some of the extremes that provides. And of course, salmon living in water are much more susceptible to those conditions than we are. And so what we're seeing in freshwater and the ocean is concerning, meaning we need to take different approaches to how we manage salmon and manage our fisheries and harvests of them and their habitat as well. And we have a lot of initiatives here at Skeena Wild that we're working on to ensure we have opportunities into the future. Our communities have opportunities in the future to still get out on the river, get out in the ocean, and but things are different, and we have to adapt. So if you want to learn more about what we're working on at Skeena Wild, please visit www.skeenawild.org or send us a message, info@skeenawild.org. We will be putting out another video in a few weeks' time where we have really good information on the returns this year and chat more about how the environmental conditions are unfolding.